I'm sure you've heard by now that President William Ruto wants Kenya to become a first world country. He often quotes Singapore and tells about how they came from a third world country to now an economic powerhouse. But how did this tiny island with no natural resources achieve this? And can Kenya do the same? This is part 1 of 3. Singapore gained independence in 1965 under dictator Lee Kuan Yew. Corruption was rampant and was often described as a way of life in the region. But Lee had a no-nonsense approach to this and gave the Anti-Graft Bureau wide-ranging powers to catch offenders. High-ranking politicians and acquaintances were not immune to jail time either. He was famously quoted as saying, "Start with putting 3 or 4 of your friends in jail and people will believe you." Lee reversed the culture to a point where corruption was considered a serious offense and was deeply shameful. The saddest example of this was Te Chiang Wan, the Minister for Natural Development in the 1980s. He was caught accepting bribes and was meant to go to trial, but he took his life before it proceeded. Te wrote a letter which Lee read out in Parliament after his death, where he said, as an honourable gentleman, he thought it right that he paid the highest penalty for his mistake. There was a shared goal by everyone from top to bottom to cut out corruption and grow as a country.
And let there be no mistakes about this. Whoever governs Singapore must have that iron in him, or give it up. This is not a game of cards. This is your life and mine. I've spent a whole lifetime building this. And as long as I'm in charge, nobody's going to knock it down.
Wakati wa kura za 2022, Ruto alipiga kampeni yake kwa kutumia msemo wa Dynasty vs Hustlers, akimaanisha kuwa nchi yetu imezoroteka kwa sababu ya wanasiasa ambao baba zao walishika mamlaka ya serikali hapo awali. Akatoa msisimko kwa Wakenya wa kawaida kuwa chini ya uongozi wake wananchi maskini ndio watakuwa juu, watapata afueni kwa kumaliza siasa na uchumi wa kibepari. Wapiga kura wengi ni watu wa hali ya chini na umaskini, na akapata ufuasi mkubwa Ruto. Nembo ya chama chake ikawa ni wheelbarrow, kuashiria kuwa yupo pamoja na watu wa kawaida. Lakini tangu ashike mamlaka, Wakenya wote wamekuwa taabani kiuchumi, na hasa katika maskini kama sisi, mahasla ndio wameumia zaidi. Ruto hawezi kupata tena wafuasi katika Wakenya maskini kwenye kura za 2027. Ameona pia kwamba Genz wengi zaidi watapiga kura, na mpango wake ni kupata kura za Genz. Wengi wao ni well educated. Ndio sasa amekuja na slogan mpya ya ahadi ya kutupeleka sisi Singapore. Waliolengwa hapa safari hii ni young generation, yani hawa magenz, ndio yeye amewalenga hivi sasa. Ruto anachukulia kuwa Genz hawajui historia, hawajui hasa kuwa Singapore ilijengwa kwenye msingi wa uongozi bora na zero tolerance on corruption. Msingi huu hapa Kenya hatuna. Kwanza, ufisadi umezidi mno. Lakini Genz ni vijana waliosoma na wanajua hii mambo ya Singapore ni slogan kama vile slogan ya Hustlers. Shida nyingine ni nembo ya chama chake. Itabidi Ruto abadilishe kutoka wheelbarrow, labda aweke rocket ama supercomputer ili mahanjam ya siasa yakamilike. Mambo ya 2027 yatakuwa magumu sana.
Kenyatta National Hospital, today in the papers, it has no reagents in the labs. Basic important things. There is no medicine. Doctors have to come up with other sources of income on the side to survive. Ndugu yangu, madaktari ndio wanafaa kuwa wana enjoy. A doctor should not even think of beginning another services. That job alone. I'm of the view that a degree in medicine is the hardest degree. Haufai kuwa na survive huku nje. These are pitting problems that we have not sorted as a country. But somehow, someone is telling us that miraculously we are going to become some country. Alisema mwenyewe Wakenya wajinga waliisha Kenya. But he's behaving like wajinga sasa ni wengi. Sasa mimi kama Joaki ni support mambo kama hii ati Singapore.
I will never understand, and I repeat, I will never understand the vision of a leader who killed the future, the young generation of this country, and watched as young men and women were maimed and shot in the head under his own orders. I will never understand the vision of a leader who cancels a contract and has a whole country pay very hefty cancellation fees only for him to relaunch the same project at an even costier rate. I will never understand the vision of a leader who is consistently choosing old, broken down, useless dogs for politicians to sit in the cabinet and govern this country. I will never understand the vision of a leader who has never in his day spoken anything that is truthful and has never acted in the interest of the people of this republic. I will never understand the vision of a leader who keeps on clamoring and yapping that we're supposed to be Singapore, yet people cannot even afford a decent 3-course meal in this country. I will never understand the vision of a leader who is consistently breaking down the economy of this country while we are watching. I will never understand the vision of a leader who has had to buy off the parliament, who's had to buy off the house, both houses, so that he can retain power. I will never understand the vision of such a leader. All the signs are before us. This is no leader with a vision. This is a man on a mission to enrich himself and his crooks. And that is the truth.
We've heard it so many times.
Tunataka Kenya ikae kama Singapore. Tunataka Kenya ikae kama Malaysia.
His Excellency the President says that the Singapore housing model inspires him. But here is what the President won't tell you. Singapore's housing success worked because citizens were part of it. In Singapore, people saved bit by bit through a national savings system called the Central Provident Fund. It was their own money, managed transparently to help them own homes over time. But what of Kenya? Now here is what the President hopes you don't notice: the difference between Kenya's model and Singapore's model. The Affordable Housing Fund is compulsory, it is secretive, and it is controlled from the top. Kenyans do not choose how to save. They are just taxed into it. And here is the worst part. The government has already admitted that to anyone contributing to the fund will not get a house. And here is the proof that you're not guaranteed a house. The CS, Alice Wahome, said it herself: even if you've been paying the housing levy every month, you will still have to pay for it again to get a home.
Contributing, I'm going to get a house.
What you are contributing is not your savings. You are contributing a tax. A levy is a tax. The way you do road levy, you know.
It's not to own a road.
So it's not to own a road. It's not to own a house.
And when she was asked why the government could not implement the program as a social protection scheme to help underprivileged Kenyans living in informal settlements and slums, who cannot afford rent-to-own options or mortgage-to-own options, but can rent a rate cheaper than what the market can offer, she said, and I quote her, "We must be practical and understanding, because from where Kenya stands, it sounds like give us your money, whether you get a home or not, that is your problem. But real practicality is using money that Kenyans are paying as taxes to help the underprivileged." So in the past, Kenyans could save voluntarily through something called the Home Ownership Savings Plan, and it allowed you to save at your own pace and get tax relief while doing it. But in 2020, the government abolished that relief through the Finance Act of 2020. I'm sure you did not know that. According to the government, the savings plan was unpopular, and instead of improving it, the government removed that benefit completely. As I conclude, I want to say this. Instead of empowering citizens to save and acquire homes directly, the government's current approach has removed private savings options and is tying home ownership to a compulsory state-managed housing fund without clear guarantee of delivery or affordability. Let's be honest, the government has made it harder for ordinary Kenyans to save for home ownership. While in Singapore, the government has empowered its citizens. Kenya is taxing its citizens and letting private investors profit off public land. If we really want to be the Singapore of Africa, we must restore people's right to save, protect public land that is currently being grabbed in the name of affordable housing program. And we must make housing truly affordable. So before you believe this affordable housing story, ask yourself,
Shit.